A man tried to fix his roof. What he found inside made him call 911. But there was one part of the city that had been largely forgotten, the ancient canal that ran quietly through the heart of the old district. It was the oldest canal in the city, built hundreds of years ago, and for generations it had carried water through the streets, helping the city flourish. Over time, however, the canal had fallen into neglect. Its once clear waters were now dark and murky, choked with weeds, fallen branches, and debris from the city's daily life. The authorities had tried to clean it a few times, but the canal's depth and old age made the work difficult. Slowly, it became something that most people ignored, a forgotten relic of the past. One chilly morning, a team of city workers arrived at the canal. They were a mixed group, engineers, laborers, and historians, brought together for a project that promised to be both challenging and significant. The city council had finally approved a plan to drain the canal completely and restore it, partly to preserve the history of the area, and partly to prepare it for a new cultural project that would turn the old district into a tourist attraction. For some workers, it was just another day at work. For others, especially the historians, it was an exciting opportunity to uncover hidden history. Among the workers was Ravi, a man in his early 40s. He had worked with the city for over 20 years, repairing roads, maintaining drains, and occasionally helping with special projects like this one. He was practical, hardworking, and skeptical of most extraordinary claims. Stories about hidden treasures or mysterious artifacts, he thought, were usually just exaggerations. Yet, something about this canal felt different to him. Perhaps it was the way the sunlight glimmered off the water in the early morning, or perhaps it was the sense that this canal, old and forgotten, held secrets that no one had discovered in decades. The team began their work carefully. Pumps were set up along the canal, sucking the water into large temporary tanks, while workers cleared the surface of floating debris. The sound of the pumps, the chatter of the crew, and the occasional splash of water filled the air. The canal itself was long and narrow, with stone walls worn smooth by centuries of flowing water. Here and there, small fish darted in the remaining puddles, and a few water birds circled overhead, curious about the sudden activity. As the water slowly lowered, the bottom of the canal began to reveal itself. Mud, silt, and fallen leaves formed thick layers over centuries of accumulation. Broken branches, old shoes, and pieces of metal littered the canal bed, reminders of the countless years of city life that had passed above. The workers moved cautiously, careful not to disturb anything that could be fragile. Ravi, holding a flashlight and a long stick, probed the shallow areas to gauge the depth of the mud. Even with his years of experience, he felt a thrill of anticipation. There was something about seeing the canal drained, layer by layer, that felt like peeling back the pages of history itself. The local residents had started to gather along the edges of the canal, curious about the work. Children pointed excitedly at the draining water, imagining pirates or hidden treasures at the bottom. Older residents shook their heads, remembering times when the canal had been clean and bustling with life. Some shared stories of their own childhood adventures along the canal, while others warned of dangers hidden beneath the water. Ravi listened politely, though he tried not to let the tales distract him from his work. By mid-morning, a significant portion of the canal had been drained. The water that remained was shallow enough that workers could walk through it carefully. Mud squelched underfoot, and the smell of earth and decay filled the air. The canal walls, once hidden beneath water, revealed centuries-old markings, carvings made by unknown hands, some symbols, some letters, all faded and worn. Ravi paused to study them, tracing the shapes with his fingers. Who had carved these? What had they meant? Questions swirled in his mind, though there were no answers yet. The atmosphere around the canal grew tense as the work progressed. Everyone knew that the deeper parts of the canal had not been disturbed for decades. That meant that anything at the bottom could be ancient. Some workers whispered to each other, imagining old coins, lost jewelry, or even forgotten city documents preserved under the mud. The historians, however, urged caution. "We need to document everything carefully," one of them said. "Rushing could destroy evidence we might never recover again." As Ravi walked along the muddy bottom, he noticed something unusual. Among the mud and debris was a shape that seemed oddly regular, unlike the broken branches and stones that littered the canal. It was rectangular, with what appeared to be carved edges. He squatted and began to brush away the mud with his hands. At first, he thought it was just an old wooden crate, perhaps left behind decades ago. But as he cleared more mud, the shape revealed itself more clearly. It was a box-like structure, small but heavy, and unlike anything he had seen in the canal before. Ravi called the others over. Engineers, laborers, and historians crowded around, trying to see what he had found. The excitement was palpable. Phones came out, cameras were raised, and questions flew in every direction. Could it be treasure? A young worker asked, his eyes wide with anticipation. Or maybe old city documents? Someone else suggested. Even Ravi felt a shiver of excitement run down his spine. The historians were quick to intervene, reminding everyone to handle the find carefully. They examined the object from a distance, noting the unusual carvings and the way it seemed to have resisted decay despite the years of water and mud. "This could be very old," one of them said. "We need to record everything before touching it." Ravi nodded, understanding the importance of preserving history over satisfying curiosity. As the team discussed how to proceed, the canal continued to drain, revealing even more of the bottom. Twisted metal, old clay pots, and fragments of wood emerged from the mud, each a small clue to the canal's long history. Ravi moved carefully, documenting everything with his camera and notes. He knew that this day, ordinary as it had started, might become a historic moment for the city. The local crowd grew larger, their curiosity matching that of the workers. Some watched silently, while others whispered to each other, sharing rumors and stories. Children imagined pirate treasure and secret tunnels, while adults speculated about lost documents or historical artifacts. The atmosphere was a mix of excitement, tension, and awe, as everyone realized that the canal, long ignored and forgotten, might hold something truly extraordinary. By late afternoon, the first real glimpse of the mysterious box had emerged. It was covered in mud, encrusted with age, and clearly not a recent object. The carvings on its surface hinted at careful craftsmanship, unlike anything that would have been thrown into the canal carelessly. Ravi and the historians examined it closely, trying to determine its age and significance. While no one could yet say exactly what was inside, the sense of anticipation was almost unbearable. As the sun began to set, casting golden light over the canal, Ravi took a moment to reflect. He had spent years working in the city, often doing routine maintenance, never expecting moments like this. And yet here he was, standing in the drained canal, holding a flashlight over an ancient, mysterious object that might change the city's understanding of its own past. The thought was thrilling, almost overwhelming. By the end of the day, the workers carefully covered the box temporarily, deciding that the next morning would be the best time to uncover it properly with the right tools and experts. The canal, though mostly drained, still held secrets waiting to be revealed. The city itself, bustling and unaware of the drama unfolding at its heart, continued on. But for Ravi and the workers, this day would be remembered forever. The day they discovered that sometimes, history waits patiently beneath the surface, ready to astonish anyone willing to look carefully. And so, the first part of this incredible story closed on a note of anticipation. The canal, once forgotten and ignored, had revealed a hint of its hidden past. The workers returned home that evening, tired but exhilarated, and the city slept unaware that a small, muddy box lying at the bottom of an ancient canal could soon change everything people thought they knew about their history. The next morning, the city woke to a quiet excitement. News of the mysterious object at the bottom of the old canal had spread through the local neighborhood, whispered among shopkeepers, school children, and elderly residents who remembered the canal in its former glory. By the time Ravi and his team arrived at the site, a small crowd had already gathered, curiosity shining in their eyes. Cameras, notebooks, and smartphones were at the ready. Everyone wanted to witness history unfolding. Yet the workers had been instructed to proceed carefully. This was no longer just a cleanup project. It was a moment of discovery, and one wrong move could destroy something irreplaceable. Ravi felt a mix of anticipation and responsibility. He had always been a practical man, focused on doing his job well. But the sight of the box, partially cleaned of mud, had awakened something he hadn't expected: curiosity. What could it hold? Coins, documents, or something else entirely? He knew he had to stay calm, patient, and methodical. He took a deep breath and signaled to the team. With the help of ropes, pulleys, and small cranes, they began the delicate process of lifting the box from the canal bed. The box was heavier than anyone expected. The decades underwater had made it waterlogged, and layers of silt clung stubbornly to its sides. Ravi and two other workers grunted as they tried to maneuver it carefully. Historians and city engineers watched closely, ready to step in if something went wrong. The crowd along the canal bank held its collective breath, silent except for the occasional murmur of speculation. Some whispered that it could be a treasure chest from the city's founding era. Others suggested it might contain old city records, perhaps revealing secrets that had been hidden for centuries. Finally, after nearly an hour of careful work, the box was lifted completely out of the canal. It was placed on a large tarp to keep it off the ground, and everyone stepped back. Mud still coated its surface, and the carvings, while more visible now, remained mysterious. Ravi knelt beside it, brushing away layers of dirt and grime. The carvings were intricate, delicate patterns that suggested careful craftsmanship. There were symbols he didn't recognize, letters from a script long out of use, and what seemed to be tiny images of buildings and people. The box was not just old, it was a piece of art, a silent story waiting to be read. The historians began examining it carefully. One of them, Dr. Anika Sharma, an expert in the city's history, took notes while another carefully measured its dimensions. "This is incredible," she said quietly, almost to herself. "It's rare to find something so well preserved in water for so long." "Whoever made this took great care." She looked at Ravi with a smile. "And you found it standing right in the middle of the canal. That's extraordinary." Ravi nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and disbelief. He had been doing his regular job, never expecting to uncover something that could rewrite part of the city's history. While the experts documented the box, a few workers carefully chipped away hardened mud from its edges. Slowly, a lid became visible, held in place by rusted iron hinges. The anticipation grew almost unbearable. Everyone gathered around, peering at the box, imagining what could lie inside. The city's canal, silent and forgotten for decades, had finally spoken, and it had a story to tell. Ravi took the lead as the lid was lifted. Inside, the box was lined with what appeared to be cloth, now darkened with age and dampness. At first glance, the contents looked fragile: papers, small objects, and what seemed like old coins. Each item was carefully lifted and examined. The coins were unusual, unlike modern currency, with symbols and faces that no one recognized immediately. The papers were delicate, some crumbling at the edges but still readable with care. And then buried among these items was a small, leather-bound diary, its cover worn smooth by time. The discovery of the diary electrified the team. Dr. Sharma carefully opened it, the pages brittle and faintly stained with water, yet remarkably intact. The handwriting was elegant, a flowing script that suggested education and authority. It belonged to a city official from centuries ago, someone who had clearly played an important role in the city's early administration. As she began reading aloud, the crowd listened in awe. The diary described daily life in the city hundreds of years ago, the challenges of maintaining the canal, and most astonishingly, secrets that had never been recorded in any official history books. Ravi felt a shiver run down his spine. Ordinary canals, ordinary workers, ordinary days. None of that seemed ordinary anymore. He realized that this small object, hidden beneath decades of mud, had the power to change the way people understood their city. The diary spoke of hidden tunnels, forgotten buildings, and agreements made in secrecy by city founders. It revealed the hardships and triumphs of the people who had built the city brick by brick, block by block, yet whose stories had been lost with time. As the day progressed, the team carefully removed each item from the box and documented it. The coins were catalogued, the papers photographed, and every detail noted. Ravi helped wherever he could, handling the objects with gloves, moving slowly, aware that any damage could mean losing pieces of history forever. Meanwhile, the crowd grew larger, drawn by curiosity and the promise of witnessing a true discovery. Children whispered among themselves, imagining the lives of people long gone. Adults speculated about what the diary might reveal next. The canal had become a window into the past, and everyone wanted a glimpse. By midday, Dr. Sharma had translated some sections of the diary aloud. One passage described a secret meeting of city officials, where decisions were made to protect the city from floods and invasions. Another spoke of a hidden storage chamber beneath the canal itself, built to preserve important records and artifacts from theft or disaster. Ravi and the other workers exchanged amazed glances. The canal, long thought to be a simple waterway, had actually played a key role in the city's safety and history. Every layer of mud removed seemed to reveal another layer of the city's story. The day was long, filled with careful work, documentation, and storytelling. The canal, which had once been ignored and forgotten, was now at the center of attention. News crews arrived to record the events, interviewing workers, historians, and curious locals. Ravi, who had always preferred to stay out of the spotlight, found himself being photographed and asked questions. Yet he remained focused, knowing that the true story lay not in his discovery, but in the objects and the diary that had been buried for centuries. As the sun began to dip low in the sky, casting golden reflections on the muddy canal bed, Ravi took a moment to look around. The workers were exhausted but exhilarated, historians animated with theories, and the crowd buzzing with speculation. What had started as a routine maintenance project had become a historic event. The canal, once a simple feature of the city, had become a treasure trove of stories, waiting to be understood and shared. The team decided to pause for the evening, covering the box and its contents carefully, ensuring that nothing would be damaged overnight. Plans were made for a full archaeological study in the coming days, with specialists to examine the coins, documents, and artifacts in detail. Yet even in this brief pause, Ravi felt a profound sense of wonder. He realized that ordinary work, done carefully and patiently, could lead to extraordinary discoveries. The canal had been waiting for someone to pay attention, and now it had revealed its secrets. As the crowd dispersed, many shaking their heads in disbelief, Ravi stood quietly beside the canal. The water, now mostly drained, reflected the evening sky, calm and unassuming, hiding the stories that had just been uncovered. He thought about the generations of people who had worked, lived, and dreamed along this canal, unaware that their efforts would eventually be revealed in such a remarkable way. It was a humbling thought. History was not just in books, but also beneath their feet, waiting for someone to notice. By the end of the day, Ravi and the workers returned home, tired but exhilarated. The city continued its normal rhythm, traffic flowing along streets, and people moving about their daily lives, unaware that beneath the surface of an ordinary canal lay a story that would captivate generations. Ravi knew that the next few days would bring even more discoveries, and that the canal would continue to share its secrets. But for now, the anticipation of what was to come was enough to keep excitement alive. And so, part 2 of this remarkable story closed on a note of suspense and wonder. The canal, once a forgotten relic, had begun to reveal its hidden treasures. The box, the coins, the diary, and the documents were only the beginning. For Ravi, the workers, the historians, and the city itself, a journey into the past had begun, one that promised to change how they understood their history forever. The next morning, the canal was alive with activity once more. News of the mysterious box, the coins, and the centuries-old diary had spread throughout the city, drawing the attention of historians, journalists, and even curious passers-by. What had begun as a routine maintenance project had transformed into a historic investigation, and everyone wanted a glimpse of the secrets hidden for centuries beneath the murky water. Ravi arrived early, as he always did, though now the work felt different. This was no longer just another job. It was a chance to witness history in motion, and he felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The morning air was crisp, carrying with it the faint scent of wet earth and the distant aroma of street food from nearby stalls. As Ravi stepped onto the muddy banks of the canal, he saw historians setting up magnifying glasses, cameras, and notebooks, while workers carefully laid out trays to hold the delicate objects recovered the previous day. Dr. Anika Sharma, who had been instrumental in analyzing the diary, greeted him with a smile. "We're ready to uncover more today," she said, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Ravi nodded, feeling both nervous and excited. The first task of the day was to examine the coins and small artifacts more closely. The coins were unusual, crafted from metals no longer commonly used, and engraved with symbols and faces that suggested they belonged to an era long forgotten. Some depicted people wearing elaborate clothing, others showed images of buildings and city walls. Historians debated their meaning, carefully recording every detail. Ravi observed quietly, fascinated by the precision and artistry. He had never imagined that objects buried in a canal could tell such complex stories. Meanwhile, the diary received most of the attention. Dr. Sharma opened the pages carefully, revealing passages that described the lives of the city's earliest officials. They wrote about everything from daily routines to large-scale projects, like the construction of bridges and markets. But what captured everyone's imagination was a section describing a hidden chamber beneath the canal itself. The diary suggested that this chamber had been used to store important records and valuables, protected from invaders and natural disasters. If the diary was accurate, it meant that the canal was not just a waterway, it was a secret protector of the city's history. Ravi felt his heart race. He had walked along this canal countless times, never suspecting that it held a hidden chamber beneath its waters. The thought that something extraordinary lay just a few feet below him filled him with awe. The workers began scanning the canal bed carefully, tapping and probing with sticks, looking for hollow spaces that could indicate the presence of a secret chamber. Every sound seemed magnified, every small discovery exciting. Pieces of wood and stones revealed the canal's layered history, each artifact telling its own story. By late morning, their patience was rewarded. A hollow sound echoed when Ravi tapped on a particular section of the canal floor. He knelt and cleared away the mud, revealing what looked like a narrow opening, long sealed and hidden beneath layers of sediment. The historians examined it carefully. Could this really be the chamber described in the diary? Doctor Sharma instructed the workers to widen the opening just enough to peer inside without damaging anything. A small beam of light was shown into the narrow space, revealing stone walls and wooden crates neatly stacked within. The crowd gathered along the canal bank gasped. Whispers of astonishment filled the air. The hidden chamber was real, just as the diary had described. Ravi felt a mixture of pride and amazement. He had stumbled upon history, not just in the form of old coins and papers, but a fully intact secret that had been forgotten for centuries. The chamber contained dozens of objects, each carefully wrapped or stored to survive the passage of time. It was a treasure trove, not of gold or jewels, but of knowledge, craftsmanship, and the life of the city's ancestors. The team began to carefully retrieve the contents. Documents and manuscripts were handled with gloves and laid out on protective sheets. Among the items were letters written by city founders, detailing decisions that had shaped the city, from trade routes to the construction of canals and markets. There were architectural plans, showing streets, buildings, and bridges that no longer existed. There were tools, ornaments, and ceremonial objects, each a testament to the skill and artistry of the people who had lived long before. Ravi's hands trembled slightly as he lifted a delicate carved wooden box, realizing that he was touching an object untouched for hundreds of years. One item in particular drew immediate attention, a sealed scroll, tied with a ribbon and marked with a symbol that matched one of the carvings on the box they had first discovered. Dr. Sharma carefully unrolled it, revealing a map of the city as it had existed centuries ago. The map showed hidden passageways, secret meeting rooms, and areas of the city that no longer existed or had been built over. The discovery was breathtaking. This was not just history. It was a key to understanding the city in ways that no one alive had ever imagined. As the day progressed, the discoveries became even more astonishing. The diary contained references to conflicts and resolutions, detailing how city leaders had dealt with floods, invasions, and disputes among citizens. It spoke of alliances with neighboring towns, secret meetings in the dead of night, and promises made to protect the city's future. Ravi found himself completely absorbed in the stories, realizing that the canal, once ignored and overlooked, had been central to the life of the city in more ways than anyone could have guessed. Journalists recorded interviews with the workers and historians, eager to share the story with the wider public. Local television channels prepared special segments, while newspaper reporters scribbled notes furiously. People from nearby neighborhoods began visiting, hoping to catch a glimpse of the discoveries. The canal, once a quiet, forgotten waterway, had become the heart of the city's historical renaissance. Children pressed their faces against the barriers, imagining the lives of people long gone, while adults speculated about the importance of the findings. Ravi, though still focused on the work, couldn't help but feel a sense of amazement. He had started the project expecting mud, debris, and routine maintenance. Instead, he had uncovered a story that had lain hidden for centuries. Every artifact, every document, and every coin revealed a piece of a larger puzzle. The canal had been a silent witness to generations of human activity, storing secrets that no one alive had known existed. By late afternoon, the team had documented and removed a large portion of the chamber's contents. Each object was carefully labeled, photographed, and prepared for transport to the city's museum and historical archives. Historians debated the significance of each item, discussing how it could change the understanding of the city's history. Ravi observed quietly, taking mental notes of every detail. He felt a deep satisfaction, not from fame or recognition, but from knowing that his work had helped uncover something extraordinary. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the canal, Ravi took a moment to look around. The water, almost entirely drained, reflected the sky, calm and unassuming, hiding the layers of history beneath its surface. Workers were cleaning up, historians were finalizing their notes, and the crowd had begun to disperse. Yet the air was still filled with a sense of wonder. The canal had revealed its treasures, but the story was far from over. There were still artifacts to study, documents to analyze, and lessons to learn from the lives of those who had come before. That evening, Ravi returned home exhausted but exhilarated. He could hardly sleep, thinking about the events of the day. The canal had given him and the city a gift beyond imagination. Ordinary life, he realized, often hides extraordinary moments, waiting for someone patient enough to uncover them. The discovery had shown him that history is not just in books or monuments. It is often beneath our feet, quietly waiting for attention. The story of the canal spread quickly. Scholars from other cities requested access to the artifacts. Universities expressed interest in studying the manuscripts. Journalists prepared feature stories. And through it all, Ravi remained humble, aware that while he had found the box and helped uncover the chamber, the true importance lay in the history itself, and in the opportunity to learn from it. By the end of Part 3, the canal had transformed from a forgotten waterway into a living archive of the city's past. The hidden chamber, the coins, the diary, and the manuscripts had all revealed secrets that reshaped the understanding of the city's history. And yet, for Ravi, the most profound discovery was not the objects themselves, but the power of patience, curiosity, and careful observation. The canal had taught him that even the most ordinary places could hide extraordinary stories, waiting for someone willing to look closely and listen carefully. The day closed with a sense of anticipation. The discoveries had answered many questions, but they had also raised new ones. What other secrets might the canal hold? How would the city preserve and share this incredible history? And most importantly, what lessons could be learned from the people who had built and protected the city centuries ago? Ravi knew that the answers would unfold in the coming days, but for now, he allowed himself a quiet moment of wonder, knowing that he had been part of something truly remarkable. The canal, once ignored and overlooked, had become a bridge between the past and the present. Its secrets had been revealed, but its story was far from complete. For Ravi, the city, and everyone who had witnessed the discovery, Part 3 marked a turning point, a moment when history, patience, and curiosity came together to create something unforgettable. The morning after the discovery, the city seemed different. People walked through streets with a quiet excitement, whispering about the canal, the mysterious box, and the hidden chamber. Ravi arrived at the site early, as he always did, feeling a mixture of anticipation and responsibility. Today was not just about uncovering objects. It was about understanding their meaning and sharing the story of the past with the present. Historians, city officials, and journalists had returned, eager to document and interpret the treasures found beneath the murky water. The canal, once quiet and overlooked, was now alive with activity. Temporary barriers had been set up to protect the area, while tables and trays held artifacts, documents, and coins recovered from the hidden chamber. Ravi carefully walked along the muddy banks, checking the setup and ensuring that nothing would be damaged. He had learned over the past days that patience and care were essential. Every object was fragile, and even a small mistake could destroy a piece of history. The canal, which had long carried only water, now carried the attention of the entire city. The historians began the day by organizing the recovered items. Coins were grouped according to symbols and dates, while manuscripts and documents were carefully flattened and examined. Dr. Annika Sharma led the effort, translating passages from the diary and documents aloud. As she read, the story of the city's early days came alive. Citizens of long ago had faced floods, invasions, and political challenges, yet they had built bridges, canals, and markets with ingenuity and dedication. Every detail revealed the intelligence, creativity, and perseverance of those who had lived centuries before. Ravi knelt beside one of the trays, examining a small carved box that had been carefully preserved. Inside were tiny tools and objects used in daily life, including writing instruments and measuring devices. He could almost imagine the hands that had used them, carefully inscribing letters or measuring building materials. The thought connected him to the past in a way that was both humbling and inspiring. The canal, which had once seemed ordinary, had now become a bridge across time, linking him directly to the people who had built and cared for the city. The day's focus shifted to the sealed scroll and map recovered from the hidden chamber. Dr. Sharma and a small team carefully unrolled the scroll, revealing the city as it had existed centuries ago. Streets, markets, and buildings were all laid out in meticulous detail. The map showed hidden tunnels and chambers, some of which no longer existed, while others were buried beneath modern construction. The discovery was astonishing. For the first time, the city had a visual record of its early layout, providing insights into urban planning, trade, and community life. Ravi watched as historians debated the locations and significance of each building, feeling a deep sense of pride in having been part of the discovery. News crews recorded every moment, interviewing historians, city officials, and even Ravi himself. Local newspapers prepared front-page stories, while social media buzzed with images of the canal and the recovered artifacts. The city had never experienced anything like this before. Ordinary citizens visited the site to witness history in progress, while schoolchildren sketched the canal, imagining the lives of those who had lived hundreds of years ago. The atmosphere was electric, filled with curiosity, wonder, and a shared sense of discovery. By midday, the team began to discuss the preservation and restoration of the canal. It would not only be a historical site, but also a place where people could learn about the city's past. Plans were made to clean the canal fully, reinforce its walls, and create walkways for visitors. Information boards would tell the story of the discovery, the hidden chamber, and the people whose lives had been recorded in the diary and manuscripts. Ravi listened closely, realizing that the canal had transformed from a forgotten relic into a symbol of the city's history and resilience. The most profound moment of the day came when Dr. Sharma read aloud a passage from the diary describing the intentions of the city's early leaders. They had built the canal not just for practical purposes, but to protect and preserve the city's culture and knowledge. The diary revealed that the hidden chamber had been designed to safeguard valuable items and documents from floods, fires, and theft. This realization gave the team a deeper appreciation for the vision and foresight of the city's founders. Ravi felt a connection to these long-gone citizens, understanding that the work of ordinary people could leave an extraordinary legacy. In the afternoon, the team carefully transported the most delicate artifacts to the city museum, where conservators would ensure their long-term preservation. The process was meticulous. Every coin, document, and object was handled with gloves, photographed, and catalogued. Ravi assisted with the transport, feeling a quiet satisfaction. Each object told a story, and together they painted a vivid picture of life centuries ago. The canal, once merely a channel for water, had become a repository of history, revealing the intelligence, skill, and dedication of those who had shaped the city. Visitors to the canal site watched as the team worked, asking questions and learning about the discoveries. Children were particularly fascinated by the idea that something hidden for hundreds of years could be uncovered by ordinary people. Teachers brought students to see the artifacts and maps, explaining how history could be preserved in unexpected places. Ravi observed the reactions, realizing that the discovery was more than a historical event. It was an educational opportunity, inspiring curiosity and respect for the past. As the day drew to a close, the team reflected on the significance of the discovery. The canal had revealed a hidden chamber, a treasure trove of documents, coins, and artifacts, and a story of the city's early leaders. It had shown how ordinary infrastructure, like a canal, could play a critical role in preserving knowledge and culture. Ravi felt a profound sense of fulfillment. His work had uncovered not just objects, but stories, lessons, and connections across generations. The canal had taught him that history is not always found in books or monuments. It can be hidden beneath our feet, waiting for attention and care. Evening settled over the canal, casting long shadows across the muddy banks. Ravi stayed for a moment, gazing at the water, now mostly drained and cleaned. The canal, once forgotten, now gleamed with purpose. Plans for its restoration promised that it would become a place where the public could engage with history directly. Visitors would walk along its banks, read about the discoveries, and imagine the lives of the people who had built the city long ago. The canal had transformed into a living museum, a bridge between the past and the present. That night, Ravi returned home, exhausted but inspired. He thought about the journey, from the first moment of draining the canal to uncovering the box, the hidden chamber, and the artifacts within. Every step had been filled with anticipation, careful work, and the thrill of discovery. He realized that history rewards patience, curiosity, and respect for the past. Ordinary people, doing ordinary jobs, could sometimes uncover extraordinary truths that connected generations. The city, too, began to embrace the discovery. Local schools incorporated lessons about the canal into their curriculum. Museums displayed the coins, manuscripts, and artifacts, while historians published articles interpreting the diary and documents. Community members visited the canal to learn, reflect, and connect with their heritage. The discovery sparked a renewed interest in history and preservation, reminding everyone that even the smallest and most overlooked places could hold profound significance. In the weeks that followed, Ravi continued to visit the canal, observing the restoration work and talking with historians and visitors. He saw the canal transform into a safe, accessible, and educational space. Families strolled along its banks, children pointed at signs explaining the discoveries, and locals shared stories about their ancestors. The canal had become more than just a waterway. It was a symbol of continuity, memory, and the importance of preserving the past. Ravi often reflected on the lessons he had learned. The canal had reminded him that history is alive, waiting to be discovered, and that curiosity and careful attention can reveal truths that were hidden for centuries. He understood that the canal's story was not just about artifacts or coins, but about human ingenuity, perseverance, and the desire to protect knowledge. The city's past was now intertwined with its present, creating a legacy that would inspire future generations. As the sun set over the restored canal, casting a warm, golden glow on the water, Ravi felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The work had been challenging, the discoveries unexpected, and the impact profound. The canal, once forgotten, had shared its secrets, and the city had responded with awe, respect, and care. For Ravi, this was more than a job. It was a reminder that ordinary people can uncover extraordinary stories, and that history, if nurtured and preserved, has the power to teach, inspire, and connect across time. The story of the canal, the mysterious box, and the hidden chamber became a lasting memory for everyone involved. It was a tale of patience, discovery, and the importance of paying attention to the world around us. Ravi's role in the story, while humble, was crucial. He had been the first to notice, the first to care, and the first to help reveal the city's forgotten past. The canal had given the city a gift, and Ravi had helped it shine, ensuring that the lessons of the past would be remembered and cherished for generations to come. And so, the city learned that history is not always written in books or preserved in grand monuments. Sometimes it lies hidden beneath the ordinary, in places that seem insignificant, waiting for someone to uncover it. The canal, once overlooked, had become a living testament to the wisdom, resilience, and creativity of generations past, and Ravi, an ordinary worker, had become part of that extraordinary story. The canal flowed quietly again, but now it carried more than water. It carried stories, lessons, and the memories of people who had built a city with care and vision. Visitors would continue to come, historians would continue to study, and the city itself would continue to grow, now forever aware that the past is never truly lost. It simply waits for someone to discover it.